Hey there folks, Lucifer LeGivorden coming back at you with another video. And longtime patrons of my channel will recognize my current co-host, Buddy the Snake. It's been a while since he's been on, so yeah. I don't know where his head is. Yeah, there he is. So, this video is actually in response to another video from another YouTuber who made a really interesting and good video, and I will be linking to it down in the description below. It's from Scarlet Ravenswood. Now, if you don't know who Scarlet Ravenswood is, she is a YouTuber who is a pagan, a Wiccan. I'm not exactly sure what her affiliation is. I don't watch her channel too much. But she is a lovely young lady who is fairly knowledgeable in the pagan art, and she does a lot of videos on it. And, yeah, hi. Can I help you? Can I assist you? Yeah, you're not getting on my glasses. So, anyways, one of her recent videos from in August was titled, "Do Witches Believe in the Devil?" Well, for obvious reasons, this is something that touches base on me quite a bit. And so we're going to discuss this in brief and whatnot, and it's sort of a response to her video. Now, I'm going to suggest you also go watch her video because it has a lot of good information on it. But it doesn't cover the full spectrum of things. Her video covers the spectrum from a Wiccan, pagan standpoint, or as we Satanists like to call it, a white light standpoint. So what is white light? White light is right-hand path, okay? Obviously Satanism is left-hand path. Now the big question being, do witches believe in a devil? Now she makes a very good point in her video that it is situational, it is circumstance, that witches and the devil inherently are not connected, because witchcraft, as she points out quite accurately, is something you do. It is a practice of herbology, local folklore, beliefs and medicines, even working with animals and whatnot, knowing how to handle these types of guys. Now, Buddy here is just simple ball python. He's not venomous, he's not dangerous at all, except to your occasional rat. And then he can be a little bit dangerous, but he is definitely adventurous, as people can see. So, witchcraft is a knowledge of things, because witches, the term witch, back in the olden days meant wise woman. Okay, now what a witch was, it was a village, like a midwife. A village midwife who was, knowledgeable in childbirth, medicine, local herbology, and even in how to get crops to grow, to be healthy for a season in spite of things, how to fix crops. A witch could do all these things. Now, she could also take that knowledge and do some very negative, bad things when provoked. So she could take her knowledge of medicinal herbs and turn it to poison, okay? And make poisonous, venomous herbs to take out a rival or somebody who had been causing problems for someone else. She would know what types of animals, or in this case, serpents, insects, that she could harvest venom from. She would know how to do a lot of this. Now, a lot of our modern sciences is based on witchcraft. A lot of your modern medicine, 100 to 200 years ago, was known only to priests, Christian priests, and, well, wise women and wise men. Medicine men, they would call them in some countries. And they're still called medicine men in certain South American and African tribes. Now, what a medicine man is essentially a wizard. He was a local shaman, a wizard, who had the same understanding. He knew how to use the plants, wildlife, and local supplies in his village area to benefit his village, to help people out. And this is where we get also the term wizard. Now, what a wizard is, it's just like a witch. A witch is a wise woman, where a wizard is wise man. So, yeah, that is the difference between a witch and a wizard. They're really not anything. I mean, there's no difference between Gandalf, essentially, and Galadriel, except in what you would call them. So, there is that. Now, do witches believe in the devil? Now, to understand this, you have to understand the different types of witches, because there really is different types of witches out there. And yes, he's putting his tail on my shirt. One good show that actually demonstrated this was actually The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. When the pagans came to Sabrina's town, and they encountered the Sabrina's family and their coven, the pagans made a very clear point of branding them satanic witches. Okay, so what is a satanic witch? Well, a satanic witch, or warlock, wizard, whatever, is simply a Satanist who does believe in the devil. Now, I'll get into that because there is some controversy there. Who does believe in the devil, but also practices witchcraft. Now, as Scarlet Ravenswood, I believe her name is, made very clear, witchcraft is nothing more and nothing less than simply being able to do certain things and understanding certain ways of doing things. Why are you going to ask her? So, it's not really a religion itself. It's a practice. Whereas Wicca, Druidry, various forms of paganism, heathenism, or even Satanism, is religions. These are religions that can incorporate various elements and forms of witchcraft into them. Now, Satanism, obviously, you can encounter somebody who is what you would call a satanic witch or a satanic warlock. You would be encountering somebody like me. I would be considered a satanic warlock, and I'm a male witch who practices Satanism. Now, not all Satanists practice witchcraft. Many of us are just straight up priests, okay? Many of us are just simply people who agree with the ideology, and we could be considered parishioners. And that can go for almost any religion out there. Whereas a warlock or a witch, now a warlock is different from a wizard in one big key element. To understand what the word warlock means is to also understand what a word wizard means. Now, I would be considered a warlock, which is, in my instance, not that different from a wizard, except for the fact that where a wizard will mostly practice right-hand path magic, positive magic, and not really go out of their way to harm people, unless flat out provoked. A warlock is not hesitant to go to the dark arts. We don't have any hesitance. As a matter of fact, we prefer going to what is generally referred to as dark magic. Now, most magic is gray to begin with. The whole thing about white magic, black magic, light and dark, it's all dependent on the individual user. Whereas, according to Christian myth, there is white and dark magic. And I'm going to flat out say no to that. There is no difference between it. because it's all dependent on the practitioner of sorcery, and what spells that they're using and in what context they're using those spells. So you could have a spell that on one hand helps a couple rekindle their romance, and then you can take that same spell against the same couple and just completely ruin their sex life. And it's just all in intent and how you want it to work out. Excuse me. So, do Satanists or do witches believe in Satan? Again, it's all dependent. And in my instance, yes, we do. Now, Satanists have a different perspective on Satan depending on where you go. Half of our religion, or a good chunk of the public part of our religion, claims to be what is called non-theistic or atheistic. Now, this stems from the individual Peter H. Gilmore, as well as the post-75 Church Satan. Now, I'm going to start with the post-75 Church Satan. What happened there is there was a schism between Michael Aquino and Anton LaVey. Anton LaVey being considered the father of modern Satanism, who basically brought Satanism out of the shadows, gave it a system, gave it a formula, and gave it a philosophy that could be singularly codified and identified with. He and Michael Aquino had a falling out in 1975 that created a schism in the Church Satan. Michael Aquino left with like 100 people, and they all created the Temple of Set. Now, the difference here was that after that, Anton LaVey became super ambiguous about whether or not he believed in an actual Satan. And the exterior portions of the church presented themselves ambiguously as whether or not they believed in a Satan or if they were atheists. This opened the door to Peter H. Gilmore entering the Church Satan, who would then bring in full-blown atheism. He flat out said, "Oh, I'm an atheist, I'm an atheist." If you read any of Peter H. Gilmore's literature, he cannot stop calling himself an atheist. He can't stop calling Satanists atheists. The truth of the matter is that Satanism, real Satanism, is a religion. By the term religion, it means to have faith in something outside yourself, most commonly a deity. It could be a philosophy, it could be a deity, and in many instances it is a philosophy based on a deity. In Satanism's instance, it would be Satan, or Satan in any of his various forms. Now, Satan, like Scarlet mentions and makes a very avid point, is based very heavily on satyrs like Pan, the god Pan, and Cernunnos, the pagan god who is very satyr-like himself. And the dark, ambient, wild, masculine energies of hunting, and, well, men generally have a very high sex drive and whatnot, and desire the company of, you know, the opposite gender in general. I mean, you see Pan and satyrs that are never too far away from nymphs, as she points out in her video, and it's a very good point. A lot of the pagan and Celtic and heathenistic deities were demonized by the Christian church. Now, Satanism is a religion that was formulated as a derivative from Christianity. Now, we wouldn't exist without Christianity. Satanists cannot exist without Christianity because that is our parent religion. And even though many Satanists, and I know I'm going to get flack from this even within the STS ranks, that Satanism as a religion cannot exist without some form of Christianity or Judeo-Abrahamic religion existing. Because Satan, in any of his forms, in any of his guises, by any name is supposed to be the antithesis to the Christian God. Now, I'm not going to go into how Satanists view God and Satan versus how Christians view God and Satan, but let's put it this way. A lot of Satanists will agree, and a lot of pagans will agree, that we don't like the Christian God for a large number of reasons. If you're a Satanist, if you're a pagan, you already know these. If you're not, well, look it up. I'm not going to go into it. So, yes, there is another branch of Satanism that was sort of started by the Temple of Set, that branched off of that became known as theistic Satanism. Some people call it traditional, some people call it generational. It goes by many names, but what it basically boils down to is we do believe in a very real devil. Satanists are able to be witches as well. We are fully capable of it. As a matter of fact, we are very knowledgeable in the occult arts. We fall into a category called occultist. We're not so much pagans, though we celebrate many of the pagan holidays, but we're not Abrahamic either. We are in the middle. We are more in line with what would be considered Freemasons, the Illuminati. I hate using that term because, yeah, anybody who's on Facebook has seen the Illuminati scams and it's like, go away. But Rosicrucians and other various Hermetic orders like that, OTO, which is Ordo Templi Orientis, Golden Dawn, all of these fall into that middle category where they take elements from Christianity, elements from paganism, and they mesh them together in a cohesive fashion in many instances, and it creates what is called occultism. Now, occultism is this middle category of religion where you do reverence, or reference at the very least, reference Christian ideology in some way, shape, fashion, or form, as well as doing the same thing to pagan and heathenistic and witchcraft, many tribal traditions on the other side. So you would have Abrahamic and paganism, I'm just going to leave it as that for simplistic terms, and occultism right in the center. And Satanism is an occult tradition. It is a tradition, it is a philosophy, and it is a religion. And yes, we too can use witchcraft. We do believe in a very real devil in many instances, as well as Christians. There is certain Christian orders that also use witchcraft, that does believe in a devil, does believe in a God. I mean, when you go to Christianity, there is no argument on that. For them, God and the devil exist. God is good, devil is bad. For occultists, it's a lot more of a gray area, and for pagans, it's not so much them wanting anything to do with the Abrahamic-based traditions. They are their own thing. Sometimes they'll talk to us here in the occult community, or the occultist spectrum of things, and that's how it works out. Do witches on the pagan element believe in a devil? Most of them, I would say, no. They don't want anything to do with devil worship or Satanism or anything like that. We Satanists do label that in a certain way. Anton LaVey mentions it in the Satanic Bible of playing the devil's game without taking the devil's name. I don't always think this is exactly fair play to pagans, because a lot of pagan traditions predate even Satanism. We've got to remember that the oldest cataloged satanic ritual was the Black Mass, and that didn't come around till the time of Louis XIV with Lavoisier during her trial, where she outlined the full Black Mass for the first time ever. Before that, all you had was inquisitioners who was writing fictitious stories about flying ointments and Sabbats and whatnot. Most of those were fictitious. You did, this is where I'm going to contradict Scarlet in a lot of ways. You did not have women going out into the woods to create flying potion and getting high and tripping off their asses to worship the devil or to play into the darker elements. None of that went on. You had practitioners who were honoring the old traditions of their religion, who would occasionally go out to cast magic circles, dancing circles. A lot of the witchcraft traditions got camouflaged and brought into Christianity and subverted into Christianity that enabled them to survive what we call the burning times. It wasn't until much, much later that you had cults of people calling themselves Satanists or Luciferians or whatnot, who actually did believe in a very real devil. And they were based very heavily on the Inquisitions, on the accusations of the Catholic Church at the time, and of other Christian churches. So that's where I'm going to leave it off today. Thank you all for joining me, and I hope that this helps add to what Scarlet Ravenswood's video says. She has a lot of really good information on. I am going to recommend people go watch her video and enjoy it, and rate and comment on her video as well as rate and comment on mine. And yeah, I hope that helps add to what she says, as well as gives a different perspective. Thank you all for joining me today, as well as Buddy, who is going to say hi to everybody eventually. If you like this video, hit that like button, share it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and tell me what you think in the comments down below. Until next time, my name is Lucifer LeGivorden, this is Buddy the Snake, and we are out of here.